How do you deal with a toxic workplace or professional environment? Let's say you are an executive at a company, or you're working in a department of a larger company, or you're running your own company and you've got clients and you have to deal with toxic people as far as vendors concerned. How do you deal with that? Well, in this video, I'm going to walk you through the dark triad, which I touch upon on a regular basis. And then I'm going to walk you through the different types of pills that you can take, and then the different types of techniques, such as gray rocking, plus something I've come up with that I was discussing with a client the other day. I was doing some executive coaching and then realized I've been teaching this on a consistent basis. So I thought, okay, it's time to record a video. Let's talk about the dark triad and how it appears in terms of a workplace. I believe, and I have lots of evidence and experience, anecdotal evidence, qualitative data, not quantitative data, but qualitative data, that there is a certain degree of the dark triad present in every work environment. Sometimes it's very low and sometimes it's extremely high. And that's because our culture today, especially in the West, is exhibiting more of these traits that formulate the dark triad. You can go do your own research on what the dark triad is, but let me overview and explain the reason this sets the context or the plate of our discussion today. The dark triad consists of three types of psychological personality traits: narcissism, psychopathy, and Machiavellianism. Narcissism is when someone thinks they're all that in a bag of chips and they're the best and everything's about them. It's like constantly obsessed, like the narcissist of looking in the mirror, way back from, I believe, Greek mythology, about Narcissus who basically just got enraptured with their own view. They have this joke: how do you drown a narcissist? Put a mirror at the bottom of a lake or a deep pool of water. So the narcissism says, okay, they've got this grandiose view of themselves. Now, there are overt narcissists and covert narcissists. In this case, the dark triad, we're mainly referring to the overt narcissist, which is this grandiose, I am the best, worship me type thing. And I like to call them in corporations cultural vampires, just completely vain, high performers typically. And that's the reason we tolerate actually the whole dark tribe, because you get performance out of it. So narcissism is all about, hey, it's about me, and this inflated view of oneself, this ego, and entitlement comes out of that, all sorts of things. Then there's psychopathy, and that's literally when someone's psycho and they exist to hurt other people. They just don't care. There is absolutely no empathy in narcissism or psychopathy or any of the dark triad. And psychopathy is we just exist to hurt people. And maybe that's because we can. Who knows? There's just some wiring that's messed up. And there are theories out there that most corporations act like psychopaths, right? If you look at the traits or the behaviors of corporations in relation to the psychological constructs that define psychopathy. Then finally, there's Machiavellianism, which is all about power and those power dynamics. And so Machiavelli was famous for writing the book Prince, which, had this question, central question: is it better to be feared than loved, right? And how do you attain that? And how do you rule? And so in Machiavellianism, it's all about power, and it's about doing these things for the sake of power or playing games just to throw authority around. Power games, power dynamics, all that stuff. Machiavellianism starts to happen, and this is where you get CEOs or executive or top leaders throwing their weight around and expressing their power in very inappropriate ways. And all three, you have Machiavellianism. So if you kind of put them in a chart, and there's three graphs or bars, each of them are going to have a different type of existence or intensity, concentration, if you will, in terms of the environment that you're in. So how do you deal with the dark triad? Well, it's important to walk through the different types of pills and then the technique. So let me show you and walk you through this. So the black pill, this is an expression in culture today where the black pill is all about, hey, take the black pill, like in the Matrix where they say we have take the red pill, while the black pill is this pessimistic view that effort is useless and only leads to suffering. And you might be thinking, Ed, why are you teaching us about taking the black pill? Well, you can take the black pill when it comes to life, and there's lots of other places, such as young men talk about taking the black pill. I'm talking about the black pill when it comes to the dark triad. The black pill basically states, listen, be a pessimist. Just any effort is going to be useless and only leads to suffering. And really, that's what happens when you're trying to deal with the dark triad. You cannot, for example, reason with the narcissist. There is no rational reasoning. It's all in their brain. What they've done is, anybody in the dark triad, they've created this false version of themselves for various different reasons. Could be childhood trauma, it's things developmentally, it could be brain issues going on, but they've developed this false self of themselves. And they're like in this hall of mirrors, or there's this mirror of this image that they think is them, and that is their complete reality. It is absolutely pointless to try and get them to change. So many people go into narcissistic relationships or relationships with psychopaths or, the dark triad and think, I can change them. You cannot. Take the black pill. It is so ingrained in there. That is the most important thing. I've seen so many people. It's kind of like being a lifeguard. So many people go in and they try and dive and they think they're rescuing that person when really the dark triad, that person in the water, looks like they're flailing around. They're just going to latch onto you and drag you down with them, or worse, press you down and stand up on your shoulders to, have for this total sense, not even of survival, which it is a survival mechanism, psychologically speaking, because they're fundamentally so insecure and they, either refuse or cannot regulate their own shame. We're going to talk about shame in a moment, that they will press you down and just for the sake of it, right? And so take the black pill. Take the black pill. Once you've taken the black pill and you just no hope, just be totally pessimistic. This person is never going to change. I've had to do this multiple times, many times. It's just useless. Don't even try. And that's where a lot of, experts and coaches say, go no contact. Psychologists say no contact. Just stop talking to them whatsoever, because your emotions give them this supply and they feed off that and they need it. That's the reason they get into corporations and social situations and have these different types of relationships. Just it's completely useless. Go no contact. But what if you do have to stay in contact with them? You have to work with them, or they're people who work for your clients or their vendors, etc., and you're just stuck with them. That's where this whole gray rocking comes into place. This is when a technique where you just become boring, just so matter of fact, become boring, because most likely you're an emotional person, rightfully so, and it's a positive thing, and you're used to engaging with people on an emotional level. Don't do that anymore. Become completely boring. Be detached. So emotionally detach yourself from that person's influence or that person's opinion of you. Don't worry, or their emotions. Just completely detach yourself from them and your own emotions, because you're just going to be boring. Become cold. All right. Just you're serving notice and saying, we're going to be so matter of fact. I'm just going to be absolutely cold, and you're not going to get any warmth from me. And it's just serving notice. Hey, I'm not available for your games. I'm not available to get an emotional rise. You're not going to have any buttons to press here. I'm just going to be boring, detached, and cold, yet be professional, right? Don't go out there and be a complete jerk about it, but don't go out and try and, overextend yourself. Have the boundaries, be professional, be boring, detached, and cold. So let's say you're in a meeting with one of these individuals that represents the dark triad, and it's just simple yes, no answers, right? Yes, I can do that. Yes, no, I won't do that. Yes, all right, type thing. And you're detached, and if they try and push you and everything like that, you just shrug and you just look at them like, what do you want from me? Right? And you're completely cold. There's nothing else, but you're professional. You're not slandering them. You're not taking a run at them. You're not gossiping behind their backs. You're completely professional. In other words, deliver on your deadlines and make sure things just happen. Be professional. That's gray rocking. And be the gray rock. You're a gray rock. You're cold. You're hard. You're stone. You're the rock, emotional rock for yourself, but you're balanced and centered. That's the reason I use this graphic, is you're balanced and nothing's going to, tilt you off. Even if people come and try and take those rocks and bat them and top them over, you're like, oh, that's fine. I'm just going to gray rock them and just, build them up again. That's it, right? And move on from there. All right. So that's gray rocking. The problem is gray rocking, you can start to lose progress, clients, connections, relationships, etc. So gray rocking and taking the black pill and gray rocking is a complete survival mechanism. Start gray rocking if you just absolutely need to survive. You are emotionally bleeding out on the gurney. You need some triage. Go gray rock. All right. Best case scenario, no contact. But if you have to stay in contact and it's really bad, gray rock yourself. All right. Now, this is the white pill. So what is the next thing from the black pill alternative? Because if you take too many black pills, you're just going to become a nihilistic person. You're just, what is the point? You're going to become apathetic and despondent, and it's just not a good look, as professionally speaking, of course. So what's the white pill? Well, the white pill is defined as seeing the world for what it is, but knowing there's more than just the bad stuff. All right. You take the white pill and you're like, I get it. There's bad juju in the world. There's the dark triad. People are mean. People suck. People are just want bad things to happen to good people. See the world for what it is. And, I would say I've taken the white pill so many times, and it's just constant taking the white pill. And I just see the world for what it is. And the world is more than bad stuff. So what are we going to do about it? Right? What do we do when, you just see the world for what it is, you accept there's, there is bad, but there's more than just the bad stuff. Well, now we can become a little more productive. So this is where I've come from. I haven't, seen this, taught before. So I guess it's kind of original, but I was teaching this the other day, taught it multiple times. You go white rock. All right. Instead of gray rock, because you took the black pill, you go white rock and you white rock yourself. What does that mean? All right. Well, it's the same thing. You're just going to be boring, right? You're not going to feed the beast. You're not going to give emotional supply to people. You're going to be boring. You're going to still be detached, just like gray rocking. You're just going to detach yourself. You're not going to let them get an emotional rise out of you. And you're going to detach yourself from their emotions and your emotions. By the way, when you're too attached to how other people feel about you and how you feel about them to define your self-worth, that's called codependency. Okay. You're not going to do that in white rocking. You're going to be professional. All right. Still professional, and deliver on your deadlines, do your things, dot your I's, cross your T's, make sure you're compliant, all that stuff. Yet you're going to be positive about it. All right. You're going to assume good intention. Even they may be the darkest, the worst from the seventh pit of that special hell individual. Yet you're going to be positive. You're going to see things in positive frame, and you're going to say, all right, this person did not wake up this, one day and say, I'm just going to become the biggest jerk on the planet. They started off just like me. You're going to use your empathy and you're just going to be positive, or you're going to say, hey, this person is going to completely undermine, yet positive things will come out of it. Despite all the bad stuff, despite all the narcissism, despite the psychopathy, despite the Machiavellianism that's happening, there's going to be a positive outcome because you've taken the white pill and you're going to act accordingly. So you might just offer an acknowledgement and say thank you and be positive and say, I think this will work out. And you're especially doing that with your teammates. Now, remember, you're professional. So you're not taking your team and putting them and, dividing and creating factions and say we're going to rebel. You're going to be positive, but you are going to, let's say, encourage other people. It's going to work out fine. There's more to life than this. Let's not get caught up. Let's not give this individual or this group of individuals all the power in our lives. Why are we acting like victims and taking the black pill when we can just take the white pill and we can be positive about the whole scenario? So white rocking is the ideal if you can just get past a little bit of gray rock and move to the white rock. And quite often I have to do that. I have to do that because I've got my own mental health, my own emotional capacity that I'm dealing with, and I just get through the day white rocking. Now let's talk about the gold standard, or where I would love everybody to be, and it's something called joy effects. This is an investment thesis, an academic thesis as well that I'm working on. What's joy effects? Kind of like network effects, but with joy. Well, here's what happens. Define joy as I'm motivated to be together in strength, but especially weakness. So first, you got to find the people that motivate you to be with them in your strength, especially weakness. These are the individuals that don't give you unsolicited advice and attempt to fix, heal, convert, teach, or direct you, right? They're just there. They hold space, and you can go to them. You want to celebrate with them in your strength, but especially in your weakness, you want to go to them. I had a great situation occur with all my colleagues at startups.com. I put into our Slack chat, hey, I had a really, really tough holidays because of family issues and different things like that, and I was weak. It was a vulnerable, authentic, weak moment, and nobody jumped on me to try and fix my problems. They just said, totally hear you, got your back, thank you so much for sharing, appreciate it. People started sharing their own stories, and we were just together, and that was joy effects for me. The joy effect was, man, I'm motivated to be with everybody here. That was the real cool thing. So how does this work? Well, as you go on your own professional development, your own social emotional development, you have to learn to regulate your shame. And that usually comes down to something called exposure therapy, where you just expose yourself to your shame and you learn to regulate it. Shame is an emotion. There's appropriate levels of shame and inappropriate levels of shame. You got to break that down. And you got to say, you know what? Even when I feel shame, first you got to know when you feel shame, which requires self-awareness. I'm going to regulate it. It's not going to affect me. In fact, I'm going to just go, you might have to just gray rock or white rock it and say, I feel shame right now, but I'm not going to react, right? There's a difference between responding and reacting. Next, know your strengths. There's a difference between self-esteem and self-concept. Self-esteem is how you feel about yourself. And so if you feel shame, you might feel ashamed of yourself. Don't want to be there. Self-concept is what you know about yourself. And you can get to the place where you say, I know that I experience shame in these aspects, but I know myself and I know my strengths, and I'm going to be a rock in this aspect, right? Back to gray rocky and white rocky. So you got to know your strengths. And often you can't do this yourself because you're looking, you're trying to get insight, which is sight into yourself. But often you can't do that navel gazing. You don't have the perspective. Like you can't see into yourself when your eyeballs are looking out. And therefore, you'll probably need other people to help and look at your blind spots and things that you're not noticing. That's where people you're motivated to be with in strength and weakness that provide joy effects in your life are the ones that will help you know your strengths. Then become okay with your weakness, right? You just, yeah, I know I suck at that. Yes, I know this is something that, I'm struggling with. I'm working on it, and I'm okay with that, right? I've had people, grade A narcissists, grade A dark triad, narcissists, psychopathic, narcissistic Machiavellians, right? Look at me and say, how can you live with yourself? Do you know what you're doing? How do you just, and I'm like, you know what? Even if it's the wrong decision, I'm okay with the decision I made, right? I'm white rocking myself. I'm like, because I know it'll turn out okay. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with my weakness. If you do these things, None of this, the shame, none of your weaknesses can be used against you. And that's what the dark triad tries to do. They try and turn things around to make you think that you're going crazy and question yourself, right? They'll project stuff onto you to make you think I'm the one doing something wrong. Well, if you can regulate your shame, you know who you are, your self-concept, and you're okay with your weakness, nothing can be used against you. Your own emotions can't be used against you. Your own shame, your own growth areas, nothing can be used against you in a court of law. Okay, no, in any professional environment. And meanwhile, you're white rocking your way through. And then guess what? You have the foundation, lay all those white rocks down. You have the foundation to build joy facts, which we're going to continue talking about on this channel. And this is advice that I give. But remember these things. If you're stuck in a situation where you're dealing with dark triad, acknowledge that it's there. Understand every organization, every professional environment has some degree of it. You're going to be okay. All right. Hope that was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions or comments or different topics. This is part of the executive coaching package that I like to at least give as I'm, providing advice to entrepreneurs, founders, business leaders, all that stuff. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next video.